All right, it is a little after 6 p.m. We do have quorum. I'm going to go ahead and call this evening's meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Florence to order. First item on this evening's agenda is approval of the minutes from the March 23rd, 2023 meeting. Staff has sent these minutes to members of the board for ample time to review. Are there any amendments or addendums to the minutes? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to either approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that it be accepted as recorded.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Second item on this evening's agenda is VZA hearing number 2023-05, a request for a variance from the impervious surface requirements for a lot located at 2535 Hoffmeyer Road in the NC-15 zoning district identified as tax map number 01221-01-013. Fast forward here. Too fast. There we go. Owner of record is, and I'm going to try my best to pronounce this, sir. It's V-Tron. Is that correct? Okay. V-Tron. Applicant is V-Tron. And again, the zoning district is NC-15. The board will now hear from city staff.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. So this is 2535 Hoffmeyer Road. This is at the corner of Hoffmeyer Road and North Wilshire Drive. It is zoned NC-15, as is everything else in Windsor Forest. It's in the city limits. It is sort of a patchwork of in the city, out of the city. So tonight the variance we're discussing is from Table 2-5.2.1, which sets the maximum impervious surface ratio on a lot with this zoning at 40%. This is to allow for stormwater infiltration to prevent pollutants from getting into our waterways and also keeping stormwater off of adjacent properties, as well as preserving the residential character of the parcel. Also, a variance is requested for section 4-9.3.1, and this is specifically for parking design for residential uses. And the number we're looking at is the total area designated for parking shall not exceed 35% of the front and or side yard area. So the applicant purchased the home in 2018. We just have a snapshot of a few aerials. Starting in 2018, you can see a pretty good amount of grass. I would say pretty close to compliance with our 40% impervious surface ratio. It starts to creep up 2021, and then there's an aerial photo of the current condition of the lot. So we ran some numbers. These are not exact, but out of approximately 30,000 square feet total of the lot, approximately 95% is covered in impervious surface, whether that's gravel or concrete. It basically means that stormwater cannot penetrate through the surface. So the variance request would be for 55% over, or about 16,000 square feet over what the code permits. Also, the second variance would be for the front and side yard impervious surface. We calculated it to be about 91% of the front and side yard area. That's the yellow in the display, and the green shows the actual pervious surface. So you're looking at a variance request for impervious surface of about 56%, or 9,000 square feet over what the code permits. And here's some site photos of the front of the home, 2535 Hoffmeyer Road. Just some pictures of the driveway. And the top left picture just shows looking out onto Hoffmeyer Road. This is actually the entrance into Windsor Forest. It's part of Windsor Forest Phase 1. They do have an active HOA at Windsor Forest. And you can see the concrete runs up to adjacent parcels. And here's just a few pictures of the backyard. We did receive an email. I was speaking with Mr. Constantine. He's the president of the Windsor Forest HOA, phases 1 through 4. Mr. Tron got in touch with the HOA and requested that they permit the amount of impervious surface to remain as is, and it was denied by the HOA 8-1. So that is what you have in front of you. I give everyone a copy. Also, the neighbor to the adjacent property to the north, Mrs. Hagberg, was unable to attend, but she did want to put on the record. Let's see if I can get to a good aerial. So the property to the north, just above 2535, she did want to express how much money she is spending on topsoil, French drains, sod, just the amount of surface water that her property is having to handle is causing a lot of financial hardship. And she did want to make sure that that was put on the record before the board. So that does conclude staff's report.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions from members of the board for city staff?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
You go ahead.
Derek, can you put that previous, before the map? Yeah, there you go. You said to the north. This was right when you said it, just popped in my mind. Which house? I believe it was another one. So the east,
yeah, that was a little bit better. Yeah.
So the east would be behind. Which house exactly? Where is she? You said Miss Hag. What was it?
Hagberg.
Hagberg.
Right. And you can see it better on this aerial here. So
Yeah,
it appears to be 2534 Andover.
So that'd be okay, right behind it.
Right behind this
Gotcha.
house.
North.
All the stormwater's going. It can also go onto Wiltshire Drive, but she's saying she's getting water that goes onto her property from this property. The concrete's not allowing infiltration, and her property is handling all the stormwater.
Question, this is the 2018 photo?
No.
Yes, in the step, yeah, we did. We had the 2018 one.
No, I'm glad you pulled it up, because I would like to point out that even in 2018, the property wouldn't be compliant with the side yard requirements. So,
Right, we did. Technically, the side yard would probably include both sides of the home. So, yes, sir. One side would probably be completely concrete, and then you'd have to take into account the other side. It would be close.
but that was pre-existing, probably before we went to the unified ordinance.
Right, 2018 was when we passed the Unified Development Ordinance.
And that driveway didn't look new in 2018.
Right, it's
Okay.
it's been there for a while. Yes, sir.
And frankly, I see other driveways that aren't compliant with the new code as well. Just in some of the photos.
Which may have been existing, and the city's trying to do a better job going forward on addressing this issue.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chico. Are there any other questions for city staff or members of the board? Thank you very much. Okay.
Yes, Derek. I have another one. When you were passing out these forms or the email in regards to the neighborhood association, you made a comment that you received this after staff report.
After the staff report, that's exactly right.
Now that y'all have received it, would y'all consider changing your staff report? Or?
I think it's something to take into consideration. The Windsor Forest does have an architectural review board that improvements to your property require HOA approval, basically. The board has to vote on it and approve if you're doing structural. Oh, I'm sorry. Windsor Forest has an architectural review board. Brian, can you bump it up? Windsor Forest has an architectural review board that requires improvements to the home. It's reverbing now. I feel like I'm too loud. They have to get approval by the HOA. And this is basically saying the HOA does not approve of how much impervious surface is out there.
Thank you, Derek.
All right. Do any other questions for city staff or members of the board? Oh, go ahead, Ms. Lewis.
So since 2018, no other work has been done to the property? I mean, what's there now?
It looks like from the aerials there was some work done after 2018. We have the 2021 photo and we have the 2023 photos. You can see that
Was all that work approved?
that would have been something that the city would not have required a permit for, but that it would have gone before their architectural review board, is my understanding.
Was it codes enforcement that found this case, or was it somebody, did the applicant actually apply for?
It was
For impervious
city staff informed codes enforcement, and the codes enforcement process was begun, and the applicant is going the route of asking for a variance.
Is there any record of the applicant asking for permission from the neighborhood association previously before UDO took over?
No, sir.
The
Just
ordinances?
this email is what we have a record of the applicant and the HOA being in communication with one another.
Is there any record with the city being in contact with them in regards to asking for any
Not that I'm aware
approvals?
of.
Not that you're
No, sir. Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you, Derek.
Any other questions for city staff from members of the board? Thank you very much. This board will now hear from the applicant, V. Tron, if you'd like to speak. If you don't mind, please, I'm going to swear you in. This is a semi-legal hearing. Next step up from here is appeals court, so we have to make everything. But do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed. Just state your name clearly into the microphone.
Angel Vitran.
V-Tran? Okay.
Yes. So when we first put down the concrete in 2022, that was just for parking purposes, and then it'll be easier for we have kids at the house too, where they can ride bikes and such, since it's harder to ride bikes on grass. And then recently in 2022, the end of 2022, we poured more because there are more potholes into the grass. So we thought it would be a lot easier for the kids to also ride their bikes or to run around on concrete instead of running into the potholes and such. And then we thought about, or we did fill them up with dirt and whatever, fill up the potholes, but then as rain comes in, it goes away. So that's what we thought, and we didn't know that we had to ask the HOA or the city in order to get rid of grass. We couldn't get rid of grass without asking them.
Right.
So we did what we did, and then now we're here a month later.
Okay. Are there any questions from members of the board for the applicant?
Yes, I got a question. Yes, ma'am. You just made a statement. You said that you didn't know HOA. You had to ask for their approval. When y'all purchased the house in 2018, were y'all aware that there were a HOA?
I think we were, but we didn't know in order to make improvements to the house that we had to ask them, or improvement to the grounds. Because we knew if we added more to the house, yeah, we knew. But when it came to the grounds, we weren't sure, I guess.
Thank you.
In the process of the initial construction and the eventual expansion, did the existing HOA reach out to you at any time or any communication?
No.
Okay.
It's only recently when we thought of putting a fence or a brick wall that they told us we couldn't do that.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. President.
When y'all requested a brick wall, this is when
Yeah.
the whole process,
Yes.
as
Yes.
far as the impervious surface
Yes,
came
sir.
to light.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And y'all you said you started construction in what, 2001 or 2002?
The most recent one was probably November 2022.
November.
Yeah, when we expanded a little bit more, yes, sir.
And each time, did y'all go about getting a professional that was licensed and bonded, and what was y'all's method in actually putting down the impervious surface?
We had a family friend that recommended us to use a construction site or construction person. Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, ma'am.
A friend recommended the business to us, so that's who we used.
And the same person that y'all had multiple stages of correction of laying the concrete down.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions from members of the board? Thank you, Ms. Tron. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance request? Gentleman in the back, if you don't mind, sir, stepping up to the microphone. And I'll go ahead and say this now for everybody. We'll do the same process. You'll step up, just state your name clearly. I'll swear you in, and then we'll hear what you have to say. So go ahead. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Constantine Parabolaris, and I'm the president of the Windsor Forest Neighborhood Association. Just to clarify a few things to let you know that we were never contacted for the construction or the laying of the concrete. It went in and was poured, and the project was over the same day. We were made aware of the project by neighbors that saw it going on, and by the time we could address the issue, the concrete had already been framed, poured, and the job was over. So we never had a chance to address it at all. And meanwhile, after the concrete had been poured and dry the next few days, they had brought in brick to put in a fence around the entire concrete area, which at that time, one of our board members approached them and said, look, this is against the Homeowners Association covenants. You need to go through a process. This has to be approved. You can't just put up anything you want to do. So at that time, they were debating, I guess, if they were going to supply us with a plan for what they were going to proceed with the project. And a few days went by, and they decided that they were not going to proceed with the fence because we had informed them that it was going to be against the covenants anyway. It probably would not be approved, although they could still submit a plan for approval. So they stopped it at that, and so we were never made aware of this project that was going on. It's a big neighborhood, a large neighborhood, so again, thanks to the neighbors that we were made even aware of what went on, and again, it happened so fast, it was almost like, let's put it in before anybody knew it was getting put in. She stated that they were aware of that there was a homeowners association, so they didn't make us aware of their project, so they should have made it more clear to us and made the attempts to find out, which we have several ways of notifying us through emails, websites, and different media ways to get us this information. So it's not a difficult process to find out and who to contact and how to present your project. So that being said, it was never approved, never addressed, never brought to our attention, and that's why, because it was done in such a quick manner that we didn't have a way to see. And as you can see by the pictures, there's just a large amount of concrete that has covered that area. And if you, I'm not an engineer by no means, but when it does rain and we have heavy rains, that whole area kind of floods right there. And we've had many complaints from numerous neighbors of them having to run their cars through the thick water there. And as you know, Florence kind of has an issue with drainage anyway, so that just adds to the issue that we have going on now. So we just feel that it was just put in not in the correct manner of how it should have been done.
Thank you, Mr. I'm going to try my best. Mr. Parabolaris?
Correct.
Are there any questions from members of the board?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I do have one question. Is this the first time y'all have had an issue with this particular neighbor in regards to?
We've had some complaints in the past of a lot of vehicles being parked at the house, a lot of in and out, maybe possible of multiple families living there. we've addressed some of the issues and have asked them if they've had, multiple families living there, which is not allowed in our covenants. So with the traffic coming and going and vehicles and people, that has been addressed, but they assured us that there was no other families living there, so we can't verify that, obviously, other than what we've seen. The vehicles in and out have been a noticeable thing, so I'm assuming that's the purpose of all the concrete that was poured, is for them to have all this traffic coming and going, and for what reason we don't know. So that's the extent of the issues that we've had in the past, or complaints from the other neighbors in the Windsor Forest subdivision.
Yes, sir. You indicated that y'all discussed the covenants.
Yes, sir.
How did y'all discuss it? Did y'all discuss it via email or person or?
Well, he was as far as which part now,
where the multiple families. You said that was not a part of it.
It was a visit. It was a home visit. You try to be neighborly about things. You go and visit the neighbor and discuss what's going on, and we approach him with the issue, and he had assured us that that was not going on. So beyond that, we didn't go any further, and because we really didn't have a way to prove that there was other families, multiple families living there at the time. And it seemed like the complaint that had come in had stopped, or was, I guess, to their satisfaction, so we never pursued it any further than that.
Okay, thank you. But the indication of the covenants to the applicant, it made it clear that he understood the covenants, thereby he read the covenants, he understood it.
Yeah, we made it clear to him, and also they're available on our website. They're available to where you can access it from asking. When we just redid all of the covenants and made a few minor changes, all of the neighbors had the opportunity to sign and see and inspect all the covenants and have a chance to go over them. We had a meeting for them, and so I mean, there was nothing that was not disclosed to everyone in multiple fashions, where anybody that had any questions or concerns could have asked and reached out to us, because then it was over a long period of time. So yeah, they were very well made there, and like I said, on our website and or text messaging or any kind of way we could send you this information.
Understood. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions from members of the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Beverly. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard either for or against? Yes, sir. And again, just step up to the microphone, let me swear you in, and state your name clearly. Do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just state your name clearly into the microphone, and you can begin.
Yes, my name is Ronald Doyle, and I live at 2600 Trotter Road in Windsor Forest. And I rise in strong opposition to granting this variance, and I'll tell you why. I purchased my home and closed on it on June 15th of 2022. Upon closing in the home, I was told, I moved from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina to Florence, and I was told that Windsor Hill was a very desirable neighborhood. I don't know if it's part of the overlay in the Unified Ordinance or not, but in any event, it's a unique neighborhood. The back portion is now being fully developed.
Yes.
So construction trucks, including dump trucks, heavy hauling trucks, heavy equipment, was going down North Wilshire Boulevard or street. And it created a situation where the street started crumbling, especially at the corner where this property in question is located, North Wilshire and Hoffmeyer. The drainage was always clogged. So I worked with the city, and the city worked diligently to repave. It's a beautiful paving job. And in fact, last week they just came out and put the yellow markers, because there's a lot of traffic. It's wide enough for 2 lanes when you enter the street. My problem, one of my problems with the situation is the fact that when you go up North Wilshire, all of my efforts to have the repavement completed has been upended, because when it rains, the water causes a down sifting of soil. So the soil and the leaves and the debris clog up this one grate. And then you have a puddle of water I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a retired attorney. And we had the same issue in Oklahoma because when water freezes and unfreezes on pavement, it breaks the pavement.
Right.
And you've got construction trucks going down there at 40, it's 25 miles per hour, but they go down there at 40, 50 miles an hour. And I don't want to see the street torn up again. Besides that, I perusing the ordinances just before I came today. Aesthetics do play a role, if I'm correct, do play somewhat of a role. The aesthetics are horrendous. The entire front of this property and the side looked like a commercial building. Once again, I saw this in my prior experiences in Oklahoma. It begins a slippery slope because it looks like a commercial property. The other day I counted 7 vehicles. It looks like a commercial property. If someone wanted to make an argument, they could make an argument that those homes along Hoffmeyer could become insurance agencies, law offices, chiropractic. I just don't think that this would be a very good idea, especially since no one was given notice that this was going to occur. It was bad when the concrete wasn't there. It's worse now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Wait 1 second, sir. Are there any questions for Mr. Doyle from members of the board? Oh, good. Thank you. I just want to make sure. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance request? All right. There being none, the chair will now entertain a motion to either approve or deny the request for a variance in this case.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chico, go ahead.
I move that we deny the request for variance based upon the following findings of fact. 1, that a variance from the terms of the Unified Development Ordinance will be contrary to public interest when, because of special conditions, a literal enforcement of the division will, in this individual case, not result in unnecessary hardship, in that the residential maximum impervious surface ratio is established to protect natural infiltration of stormwater, to prevent flooding, reduce pollutants entering our waterways, and prevent stormwater from negatively impacting adjacent property owners. 2, that the spirit of the Unified Development Ordinance will not be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done, because the maximum impervious surface ratio applies to all properties and is based upon the zoning designation. Similar properties within the NC-15 zoning designation must meet the same requirements. 3, that there are not extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to this particular piece of property. Namely, this property is similar in size and shape to other corner lots in the zoning designation. 4, that these conditions generally apply to other properties in the vicinity, in that this property is similar in size and shape to the other corner lots in this zoning designation. Similar properties within the NC-15 designation must meet the same requirements. 5, that because of these conditions, the application of the Unified Development Ordinance to this particular property would not effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. 6, that the authorization of variance will be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will be harmed by the granting of this variance because the residential maximum impervious surface ratio is established to protect natural infiltration of stormwater, to prevent flooding, reduce pollutants entering our waterways, and prevent stormwater from negatively impacting adjacent property owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chico. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconds from both Nathaniels. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The variance request is denied. Ms. Tron, I would request that you guys work with the city staff and work with your homeowners association as you guys progress forward. Yes, sir. Yes. Oh, wait 1 second. We're recording this, so if you wanted to speak, you can go up there. Yeah. Just.
One thing I'll let you know, we got big family. We got brother and sister live there, and we know you like to talk. We have like not a family live there. We don't have no family. We have brother. You have brother? You have sister?
Yeah.
We live in the same family. We got the same last name.
Yeah.
And don't act like, please, don't say we have, a lot of people live in our house.
Yeah.
We Asian. We have family live together.
Yeah.
That's all I tell you.
Yeah.
Don't act like we have a lot. Everybody have like brother, sister. We have a car. We want whole family buy one car. We got 7 cars. We got seven brother and sister. They just let you know. Everybody have brother and sister. We name one family. That means we one family, and that's all I tell you. You don't not deny. And I talk to the guy, and we forcibly removing it. And that's all I tell you.
Yeah.
So please don't think like we the one. A lot of people live our house, or no stranger live in our house. Only one family. I let you know that one family. Okay. We always got same last name, and we got kids. That's it.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Mr. Tron. All right. Next item on this evening's agenda is hearing number BZA-2023-06, which is a variance request from the setback requirements for residential lots in Table 2-5.2.1. Locations are 2200 New Forest Drive, 2204 New Forest Drive, and 221 Waverly Woods Drive.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Before you proceed,
Yes.
do you want to inform the people here that if they don't want to stick around for the additional hearings?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I got so wrapped up. That concludes the previous hearing. If you were here just for that hearing, you're welcome to leave now. If you want to stay, you're welcome to stay too. But I'll leave that. Oh, now they're all leaving. Thank you, Mr. Chico.
I figured
What a way to clear a room.
I'd give them back the balance of their time.
Tax map number 21005-01-045, 21005-01-046, and 21005-01-005. Owner of records is Waverly Woods at Clawson. Applicant is JGL Builders. And the zoning district is Neighborhood Conservation 6.1. The board will now hear from city staff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This request concerns, it's the same request for 3 different parcels, and they're in close proximity to each other within the Waverly Woods subdivision. So that's why they're all being addressed at the same time. There are 2 of them, as you can see, that are on the cul-de-sac of this New Forest Drive, and there's one at the corner of Waverly Woods and Brightwood Drive. All 3 of them are infill lots that haven't been built out yet as part of the Waverly Woods subdivision. All 3 of them also, as you can see, are oddly shaped, and so the applicant wishes to build houses on them in keeping with the other houses in the neighborhood, and because of the odd shape, they need to go into the setbacks just a little bit. And the NC 6.1 setbacks are 25 feet from the front, 10 feet from a street side, 5 feet from an interior side, and 25 from the rear. The 2 parcels on the cul-de-sac, though, did have a reduced front setback of 12.5 feet as part of, which is often done on cul-de-sacs because of the odd shape. So this is just a summation of the variances that are requested. So for 2200 New Forest Drive, it just needs a roughly 5-foot variance on the rear setback. For 2204 New Forest, and those are the 2 that are on the cul-de-sac, that one is also a rear setback, and that one needs about a 3-foot variance. And then the one that needs the most variances is the one at the corner of Waverly Woods there, the 2221. They need just a very slight front setback. They'll be slightly forward of the other houses. The street side setback is just barely less than the 10 feet that's required. But the one that we're mainly concerned about is the 3.3-foot setback from the interior side instead of 5 feet. So that would put it much closer to the house next to it than the other houses in the neighborhood. So here's the plats showing them in comparison to the dotted line is the setback line. So you can see easily the difference that it's going to make. This is the one on New Forest Drive, the 2200. The back corner of the house would be about 19.7 feet from the rear property line. This is 2400 New Forest, and it would be 21.9 feet from the rear property line. It meets everything else. And then this is the one on Brightwood and Waverly Woods, and as you can see, it goes just a hair into the front setback and the street side setback, but it does go a little bit into the interior side setback, but it's fine for the rear. So that concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for city staff from members of the board?
Are they on the property lines? Is anything going over?
Yes, that's the whole point of the, going on the property lines? No, they're just going on the setback lines.
Has there been any communication from the neighbors at all to the
I
city?
have gotten a few, mostly questions, curiosity.
Okay.
I think there was some concern from the neighbor next to the 2221.
Okay.
In the case of 2221, right now it barely infringes on the front setback, but it's on a corner.
That's correct.
And but it's a foot and a half over the 5 foot setback on
Interior.
the north side.
That's correct. So that puts it 8 feet from the house next door instead of the required 10 at that one corner.
And you said that's not going into their property line?
Correct. It just goes over the setback line.
It's 3.5 feet from the property line instead of 5 feet, which is the 5 feet was required by the ordinance.
Yes, ma'am. Did the neighbors make any comment, negative or positive, or just like you said, out of curiosity?
Mostly out of curiosity.
Okay. Thank you.
We might get some comment tonight.
Are there any other questions for city staff or members of the board? Oh, go ahead, Ms. Moses.
It's really not a question, it's an observation. I'm looking at this 2221. They look like they're right on the neighbor's driveway. Is this,
Well, there's nothing built there yet.
yeah, but not in 2221, but what is this, 2217? On page 31.
Yes. That house's driveway, if you go to the location map, that house's driveway is on the other side.
On the other side, okay. What is that driveway?
So it'd just be the side of the house there.
Okay.
Do we know where the entrance or the driveway would be for the prospective house that's going to be there?
I don't believe the driveway's been included, but it looks from looking at the floor plan that it might be right in the middle of the parcel there.
That's that gap we're looking at? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Lane, is there any neighborhood association with this neighborhood?
I
Address them.
believe there is, but I don't know how active they are.
You're right.
Are there any other questions for city staff? Thank you very much. The board will now hear from the applicant. I do not have a name here, but I do have JGL Builders listed. I guess. Okay, yeah. If you don't mind, sir, same as the last group. Let me swear you in real quick, and then you'll just state your name clearly, and then you may proceed. But do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
I do.
All right. And what's your name, sir?
Mark Lawn.
All right, Mark. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, I got a little raspy voice. I was sick last week, but
It's going around.
I own the development. My father used to build them. He's retired. My son now took over JGL Builders. The reason we're asking for this is because
we are the one neighborhood on that south side of town. I think we have the highest per square foot value of sale and resale in the entire area that we're in. I think that's correct. Number two, we're the really only ones that have a pool. We have a pool, a community pool association. And we do have an active HOA that's managed out of Charlotte. It's a big group out of Charlotte that manages it. I have about 100 lots left around these houses that we're going to do. We're about to put in phase 2. The reason I'm just, and when you look at some of these lots, we try to separate the driveways. So one driveway is not beside the other one. We try to do that. Most of them. I don't think I've ever put a driveway side by side up there, I don't think. The other thing we try to do is when you look at some of these things that are going over, particularly when someone mentioned a foot and a half, it's at a point. It's not the whole line, it's at a point. So someone said, why don't you just build a smaller house? I can do that. Not a problem. But if I lived in these houses and the house square footage was 16, 17, 1800 square foot, do I really want a 1350 square foot house beside me? No, that's not what I want to do. I can sell these lots all day long to a national developer who will come in. I've been called and contacted. What's the minimum? I think the minimum is 1250, I think, but we want to build 1300 square foot houses. I could have sold this place 10 years ago. I don't want to do that. My dad built probably 500 or 600 houses in Florence, and I put all the developments in, so we don't want to do that. What we're asking to do is we're asking to maintain the aesthetics. We're asking to maintain the size. We're asking to maintain the value of the houses, keeping everything the same. That's what we're asking for. If you deny this, I'll put a 1,300 square foot 50 house on there. It doesn't matter to me. I make my money by square foot. Now, will it hurt the development? Yeah. Will it make me do the next, second, third phase in 1,300 square foot houses? Yeah. Every last one of them. So we make money per square foot. I could have long ago built smaller houses in this place and sold it out, like everyone around me. I chose not to do that. I chose to keep the comps up, even in the bad times. 8, 9, and 10, 12, whatever. Bad times. Everybody was selling these things for dirt. I controlled the houses that went in there. My father controlled the house that we built. We didn't make any money for about 3 years, but we kept our subs going, and we didn't target the value of the actual development. That pool cost me $370,000, I think, to put in with the community pool. These 3 houses are going to be right around the community development. There are people that are contacting me, and I'm sure the city's aware of this also. These hedge funds are wanting to buy homes to rent. The apartment comp stuff is drying up. There's nowhere for them to buy. They want to buy homes and rent them. They're doing it across the country. So they want to buy 20 lots at a time, 20 houses at a time. And these big hedge funds, I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt any neighbor. I know all these neighbors out here. I've been developing this thing with my father, slow, because he was older, and my son wants to be a little more aggressive and build more houses. I understand that, but we're cautious. Mm-hmm. The reason we only build 6 to 10 houses a year or less is because we keep the comps up. We don't want to flood this development and sell what we got in. That's not what we are. You can do that if you go both directions. You can find a development real close that does that. And I don't think the people out there want that done. So just as a legal standpoint, we're trying to keep aesthetics. The setbacks we're asking for, you mentioned the 3.2 foot, it's on a point, so it's not the whole strip. And I would contend that in your order, I only would want to have the portion outside of the setback. I don't want the entire setback, meaning no one can come into that extra 5 feet you give me or 3 feet you give me and put a whole other thing back. No, we don't want that at all. We just want the point or the little piece sticking over the setback because these are oddly shaped lots. Now, when the engineer put it in, God help him, he just wants to put as many lots he can in there, right? So he wanted to put straight racetrack lines. I said, no, let's put a curve in it. And he said, what are you going to do? Well, now, 15 years ago, I didn't really build a lot of houses, my father did. But now, when we do the second phase, we're not going to have these oddly shaped lots. As a matter of fact, if you drive all the way down Wavy Woods in the back, there are these big cul-de-sacs. I'm on the planning commission, so these big cul-de-sacs back then, these things are huge. Well, we've approved some of these things now that are small and that the fire marshal's okay with, but that's what caused most of this. So the way we're designing the next phase is we want to tie it in so the fire truck has a way to come around, so we don't have to eat up a lot of land on front setbacks and stuff like that. So we're going to combine 2 lots in the back that are kind of narrow. We're only asking these because we really can't fit the same size house. Toward the back, we're going to do kind of a long rancher, and we combine 2 lots, keep the same square footage, same comps, a little bit longer house, and then the rest of them I can shape the way I want to shape them. You know, if it creates a larger lot, it creates a larger lot. It's just we're going to have a 50 by 50 footprint that we build in, and no more of these pie shapes and all that stuff. So again, trying to keep aesthetics, trying to keep the comps up. I don't want to put smaller houses in there that people buy just to rent. That's going to change the character of the neighborhood. I'm unaware of any homes in there that are being currently rented out on a yearly basis. It may be one that someone left and trying to sell it. I don't know, but it's not a market where people can come in and buy houses and rent them. That's not what we're trying to get out here. So aesthetics, comps, kind of going with the development.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Are there any questions for the applicant from members of the board? I've got one. We've got the top-down view, and I probably already know the answer to this, but the elevation view would be similar to the construction that we see here in some of the
We want to put
pictures.
them exactly where they are. That's why I actually said to this board, I don't want the entire setback.
Right.
I just want the point and the area that we're going to build these same exact houses that Nez put on there are the same exact ones we want to put.
Okay.
And they're consistent with us trying to separate the driveways on these deep pie-shaped lots. They're consistent with that, and they're consistent with the square footage. Okay. So these 3 homes that we have here are the 3 permits we want to pull. So I'd actually ask that if this does go through and you do find in my favor, that we don't get the entire setback. We just get the portion of the house that's over in that particular spot.
I got you.
Because I don't want someone to come in and be able to build something else.
Right. Understood. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I do have a question. I guess it would be more for city staff. With what he added, would that be possible to write into what we're approving or denying?
Well, the variance would apply specifically to these 3 parcels, to these 3 floor plans.
So anything new in the
These-
future
these
would have
3
to go.
plats. So anything new would have to come back.
And I'll contend these 3 plats for the same exact houses we want to build. And you can put that along there too. We're not trying to hide anything. These are the 3 homes that Nesbitt put on, and that's what we want to put there.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Long. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance? You guys, there you go. If you don't mind, sir, do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes.
All right, state your name clearly into the microphone.
Vinny Resiniti.
Resiniti. All right, go ahead, sir.
I live next door to 2221. I'm 2217.
Okay.
My problem is there, originally, we were talking about building a 2-story house, so it wouldn't be that close to, when he did it, when he started building the house there. So if you have a 2-story house, you could do the same footage and have a 2-story there and not be on top of the next, to me, really. And talking about 12 or 13, it's 1,400 square foot houses they are required to build, not 12 or 13 or 1250, it's 1,400 square foot. Okay. Well, and the other thing was, all the other corner lots are facing the other way, not coming in on Waverly Woods. They're all facing the side streets, all the houses that are in the development right now. So that was my concern. Why change this one here and do the setback like that and be on top of my house? Now you're drawing the value of my house down by putting down on top of mine. It doesn't make any sense to me. Or shift the house over to the left, a 1.5 foot, right? And so you got your 5-foot variance to the right, and just shift the house over to the left because the left is just a street. Does that make sense there? Instead of instead of hurting somebody's feelings or putting a house on top of you, that doesn't make any sense here, and brings that value of my house down. If I go sell later on, who's going to want my house with the house pointing like that? That's my concern.
I'm more than happy to move that house.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I have no problem with that. I mean, well, I don't know if I can talk here.
Yeah, you can talk, but we won't pick it up, so you have to go to the microphone. Yes, sir.
That was my concern. You just moved the house to the left there. Why come to the, you know, that's what, that was my concern.
Okay.
That was it. That makes sense to me. And matter of fact, I pulled up and I talked to somebody on the council I pulled up and he said that makes sense too, to move the house over to the left. That was it. That was my concern.
Okay.
All right.
Are there hold on, let me get done with this resident. Yes, sir. Are there any other questions for, go ahead, Ms. Moses.
So you would want this house, the front entrance to the house, you would want turned toward Brightwood Drive?
Okay. I just don't want the house, let's sit with the 5-foot setback there instead of just 3-foot setback. That's what I'm concerned with. The way I seen the house, the way you got it going now, I thought you were going to put it all the way to the, right. And I didn't see this until now.
Yeah.
So that was it. So if we go with the 5-foot setback, that's good. I'll be happy with that.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Resident? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Lomar, did you want to speak? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Just 1 minute, just to clarify some things.
Yeah.
As far as the way the house is pointing, we try to keep those houses pointing certain streets.
Right.
Depends on the way that the lots were laid out initially, sewer, water, stuff like that. On this particular house, I could build a 2-story house, but then Mr. Vinny would have someone on a 2-story layering down him. We didn't want to do that. There's only 1 2-story house, two in that development. One that's there, front and back is the pool, so they're not towering over someone. And the other one is at the very back of the neighborhood, which is where we're going to try to combine those other 2 lots. But if you guys in the city's okay with me moving that house 1.5 feet to a street where there's no one there, I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that either. We were just trying to put this as least intrusive as possible.
Right.
So if you want to keep the 5 foot next to Vinny's house, we don't have a problem with that. We can slide it over that little point to where it comes in the setback, and then we just go into a road.
Right. Yeah. It would require a modified of the variance, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I appreciate that, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for? I think the lady in the yellow, I think you had your hand up first. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Gloria Smith.
All right, Ms. Smith, do you promise the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, go ahead, please.
My concern, we have a water problem there, okay? When it rains, the water comes from the back. It's a lot behind us, nothing but trees. Benny Rezzanini, the reason you can walk back there now is because he takes his time, don't get paid for it, to clear behind our homes. Because we all put up fences, but we didn't put it in our lots. We all was in agreement when I moved there. So when it rains, you should see how it comes in our backyard. Okay, I think that's wrong, okay? You can't get, no one want to come forward and talk. They're afraid. I says, no, that's not to be afraid. All you want to do is where you live for your property for the rest of your life. You want to keep it real. And you also want everyone there to be in peace and happy. It's unfair. Now they're getting ready to build more houses, but behind us, where the trees were, I heard that houses are going there. Well, there's a graveyard back there. The graveyard walk all the way back down by the inner office to the end there. I was shown the graveyard. I was shown where the person was buried. Okay, so right now where I moved there, it was pretty Waverly Woods. Right now, it's ugly and aggravated Waverly Woods. Take a ride through there and look, okay? And a lot of this you put in Mr. Longhorn, got respect for you, you know that. But you cannot put this on all the neighbors. If you go by there, you will see yards cut. You will see everything in order. But lately, since the new year has come in, it's a problem. And it's an aggravating problem. Because we don't have to call no one. My big mouth, which I love to talk, I will ask you, your yard doesn't look good, or you have paper. You're degrading where I live. And I grew up in South Carolina. Okay? Just like I tell the people about East Florence. My mother bought a home there. That used to be an East Florence. What it is now? A no Florence. It's ugly. Very ugly. Property and stuff going down. But is it unfair that you raise our homeowners association? You just go up on us when you get ready. Every year you go up on that money. That's not correct. That's not fair. You decide that you got all the money, but then you got people that can't afford to increase every year. So they're retired. And we have good people live out there. So by you increasing every year, that doesn't make sense. And it's wrong. So I'm speaking for everybody that's not here that asked Gloria to speak for them. I'm also speaking for them.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Are there any questions for Ms. Smith from members of the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. Ms. Gloria, which house do you live in? You said Waverly Woods Drive. So
2213.
So you're on Waverly Woods?
Yes.
And 2213, can you put up a map, please, so I can see exactly where
She
she's
would be on the
at?
other side of his house.
What he's got, okay,
He's
yes,
17.
gotcha. So you're having the comments are in relation to the 2221 Waverly Woods.
No, my comment is about the water coming from the back. That the lot that you on back behind us, and when it comes all the way through our yards.
In the rear of y'all's property?
Yes, right to the front of our yard.
On this display, the what you're talking about is the, it went away.
This is farther out.
The other picture might be better.
Yeah, can you go back to the picture, please? In the upper left, I believe, is the wooded area that she's addressing. And backing up to the house is currently there on Waverly. Okay.
So next to the lot that we're referencing, it's your house, then it's her house right next to that. Y'all right next, y'all the neighbors?
Yes,
Right, the neighbors. And let me ask, so what you're bringing to us, do that have anything to do with what they're asking for the plans of putting the house there? Do you think it has something to do with the water?
There's nothing there. So I don't see how you would want to build back there when there's nothing back there but trees, and Benny cut down a lot of the trees that's down behind us, and the water's coming in our backyard. I mean, it runs just like a sewer.
So do you feel the water will have a problem? It'll be a problem with them putting
Yes.
property on that lot?
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
Have to clear the corner.
And what I don't want it later with that water to keep coming in my yard to come up to our home, because water can soak anywhere and it will give you problems. So the only thing I'm addressing the situation is now let's get this taken care of. Okay, you're thinking about building. All you want to do is build, but keep up. I think you should keep up the place that you have, from the front of Waverly Woods all the way to the back. Okay, it used to be, like I said, pretty Waverly Woods. Now it's ugly Waverly Woods.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or yes, sir? You were next. Thank you, sir. Do you promise that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes.
All right. State your name clearly into the microphone, please.
It is Irvin Jamel Williams.
All right, Mr. Williams, go ahead.
I live at 2228 Wakefield Woods Drive, right in front of that lot that you trying to build on. I want to know, where would the parking lot be? Right in front of my parking lot, my driveway, or what? 2228, right in front of that lot. The 21. I live right in front of that lot.
Which lot is it again? I'm not sure which lot you're talking about. I'd be more than happy to answer the question, Mr. Chair.
You ever see my house right here? Yeah.
2232.
2228.
20.
I'm right in front of that lot.
Right here.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What's your question?
I want to know where the driveway would be.
The driveway is...
For that lot.
It's going to be away from Denny's house. So this one's over here. I'm pretty sure this driveway, do you have to pull up the house, guys? Yeah, this is the drive. This would be the garage right here in the middle of the lot.
So my driveway would be in front of the driveway. I'm just saying.
This driveway is here. I don't know where your driveway is.
That's my neighbor.
Your lot's up top, right? Your lot's up there. This driveway.
Kind of.
Yeah, your driveway would be coming out
right here. I'm right in front of that lot.
No, I don't think you're on the corner, are you? Are you on the corner? This is Mitch's house. You're the next house up. So this driveway will come in front of his house, not yours.
Okay. And I want to ask you about another house that was built in Wakefield Wood. The front lot, the first house that was in front of Wakefield Wood. How many acres did that house have? By the Wakefield Wood sign.
Say it one more time.
By the Wakefield Wood sign, there's a house.
Which side?
The left. As you go in by the Wakefield Wood sign. How many acres does that house have?
How many
acres?
exits?
Yeah.
Doors. Front door and back door.
No, I didn't see no back door on it.
There's a front door and back door, sir.
So what I'm saying is, I don't see a back door, but what I'm saying is somebody get caught in the fire in the front door,
That's
how they gonna get out?
Code enforcement goes through all that. We're not discussing the actual building of the house. I mean, you gotta have a front door and back door. I know there's a back door there.
Yeah, Mr. Williams, I'm not quite sure what you're getting to, but we're just concerned about these three lots right now.
Okay.
So let's keep the questions around these three. Yes, sir.
Okay, and also like the lady in yellow said,
Right.
it's getting kind of cramped up in there.
Right.
Why are they trying to cramp us up in there?
I'm not sure, but I mean, what we're looking at now is whether or not these homes, as they are, which is the same aesthetically and square footage as the houses that you guys own, whether or not they will fit into these lots.
Yeah, but
and if not, how much
like,
of a variance would they request, and then whether or not we approve that.
Yeah, but I understand that, but it's like we're living on top of each other.
Right. Yes, sir. I understand, but that's a whole different conversation than what we're looking at here. Now, I appreciate the way you feel, I do, but it's the same thing as the water runoff. Those are two totally different conversations. We're just trying to look at these houses and get a feel for the neighbors and whether or not the neighbors approve or don't approve of the construction on these empty lots for right now. Yes, sir. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I just clear one more thing up.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lawhorn.
Just one more thing. This whole property was laid out and developed, topo, everything was done. This actually is one of the only properties in Florence, and when we put it in, we didn't have to have a pond. Our runoff was so good to the back of the swamp, which the city, I deeded over that trifecta of those for the wastewater. When Drew was here, he said, "Mark, please, we need that." So I deeded that over to the city. This is one of the better sites in Florence because we didn't need a pond. The drain off was unbelievable. Now, obviously, all the rules have changed in the last 10 years, so they make you put a pond in if you put one shingle in. But back then, this thing drained. There's no secret how many houses are going to go here. I mean, this thing is, I think there's maps that everybody has. This is going to be a 150 home site development. Just like the spacing on Waverly Woods Drive and New Forest and everywhere else is going to be same phase 2 and phase 3. It's just we're going to try to make sure that all the lots are 50 by 50 when we build. So you actually be less on each other when we get through the second and third phase. But as far as water running, I've never seen water run to anybody's front yard on Waverly Woods Drive. Never.
What'd you say?
I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Number two, that land back there is still farmland. We haven't even touched it. All right, so there's nothing.
Right.
As far as drainage wise, I mean that whole place is laid out from the get go.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you. Yes, sir, go ahead. All right, sir, do you promise the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
I do.
State your name clearly into the microphone.
My name is David Ringley. I'm currently serving as the Vice President of the Homeowners Association, and I'm also serving on the Architectural Committee. And I'd just like to say that assuming, I'm not Vinny, but assuming that we can work something out with him and it's agreeable between him and Mark, I propose that we go ahead and approve this variation for setbacks on the houses. I've been living out there since 2009. Waverly Woods is a very desirable neighborhood. Like Mark said, we have a pool out there. Every time a house goes for sale out there, it sells quick. We just had a house go for sale out there week before last, and within the week it was already sold and put under contract. People are always looking at that area to buy a house, but as soon as it goes on the market, it's sold. People are looking for houses out there to go on sale and gobble them up really fast. When I moved out there in 2009, up until today, now of course there's been things over the years that have factored into that, like the housing market last year, it was hot. But my house itself has appreciated over $115,000 since I moved out there. And that's one of the reasons being is because it is a desirable neighborhood, and Mark has not allowed contractors to come in there and do like they do in some of the other neighborhoods where they go out and they build a gazillion houses, then they put them all up for sale, and there's really no competition because they've got hundreds of houses to choose from. Whereas if you build a few of them, now you have competition because you have more people looking at those houses, and the housing values stay up. So, I would ask that, you guys carefully consider this, and if Mark goes back and makes a determination with Vinny that, they can work out the setback on his lot, that, you guys go ahead and approve it.
Thanks, Mr. Ringley. Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard either for or against the variance request? All right. There being none, the chair will now entertain a motion to either approve or deny the variance request in this hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve I'd like to see if we could break them up into two properties. There's 3 properties currently. I'd like to make a motion to approve get them in order. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2200 New Forest Drive and the 2204 New Forest Drive.
All right, Mr. President.
Setback. Based on the following, okay, based on that a variance from the terms of this ordinance would not be contrary to the public interest where owing to the special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions will in an individual case result in an unnecessary hardship. Lots throughout the neighborhood are similarly sized and the dimensions are similarly sized. Number 2, that the spirit of the ordinance will be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done. Due to the variance request and the size similarities of the lots and the dimension similarities. Number 3, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. Due to the lot sizes and their buildable areas are oddly shaped, making it more difficult to meet the setbacks as required. Number 4, that these conditions do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. Most of the lots are rectangular in shape and can easily accommodate the setbacks. Number 5, that because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular properties would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the properties as follows. Requiring that new constructions meet the setbacks would not prohibit the developer from building appropriate houses. However, they may be slightly smaller than size and due to the lot sizes and dimensions. And number 6, the authorization of a variance would not be of substantial detriment to adjacent properties or to the public good, and the character of the district would not be harmed by the granting of the variance. Because the existing houses meet the setbacks, locating the proposed housing at the requested distance will place them closer to the property lines than the adjacent houses are, as well as the lot sizes and dimensions are similar.
All right, thank you, Mr. Poston. Just to clarify, we have a motion to approve the variance request for 2200 New Forest Drive and 2204 New Forest Drive. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chico. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The variance request is approved. And if I stand correct, you had a second motion you wanted to issue, Mr. Poston?
I would like that second motion to be reviewed as if we can, the applicant made an indication that he could move it 1 foot over or that way it makes the neighbors more compliant.
Right, I think the initial thing was whatever footage was, their initial variance request was, I think, 3.5 feet. Moved that to the left, which would require another variance request on the opposite side, if I'm incorrect. Is that correct, City?
That's correct. By moving it over, then he would just he would not require one on the interior side, but he would require 8.2 feet, I think it is, on the street side.
Okay.
Setback.
Okay.
Whatever you something he have to bring back.
No, you could approve that tonight. You just say that
Right.
making that correction would be what you're approving.
I just wanted to, I made an observation here, looking at the layout of this 2221. Since it's on this corner, the sight line on it's well behind the sight lines of the other homes on Waverly Drive, and so you could shift the house forward away from the adjacent property. It would require a larger setback variance on the front side of the property, but it would still be behind the sight line of the other homes on Waverly.
I'll put it wherever you guys tell me. I don't have a problem with it. Whatever this board thinks is appropriate, we can take that house and put it anywhere you want. Nesbitt will just move it to anywhere you see fit.
Let me ask, so when you say moving it to the left, is that like the front side going towards that way?
Yeah, if you look at the orientation, what we're looking at is either, to use the orientation on the screen, either moving it down or forward or options enough to get that point out of the
So would it be a
setback
problem?
line.
Will it be a problem shifting it at an angle? Not at an angle, but you get what I'm saying, where the front of the house is more, to me it may look like you may still place it within the setbacks, if I'm looking at that correctly, if y'all get what I'm trying
And
to say.
if you look at it from the aerial, as you can see, there's a significant, not significant, I think it's about 10 feet between the pavement and the property line itself. So visually, it would not, while it would physically be closer to the property line proper, it would not necessarily be, it'd be closer to the street, but the property line is not where the pavement line is, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just something to consider.
All right, the chair will now entertain a motion to either approve or deny the variance request for 2221 Waverly Woods Drive.
Mr. Chairman, is that are they making any adjustments to the variance?
That's up to how the motion is made. You can, I don't want to put words in my mouth, but I'm just saying you can word it to where, the variance is approved based on adjustments made to get it away from existing homes, or maybe move it closer to either Waverly or whatever the second street is. I'm sorry. Brightwood, yeah.
Basically, to just honor that 5-foot interior side setback.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. All right, the chair would like to make a motion that we approve variance request for make sure I get the right address down here. 2221 Waverly Woods Drive, in that the builder works very close with city staff to move the home away from the existing housing, more closely either to Brightwood or to Waverly Woods Drive. So the variance would be to whichever motion that goes. In other words, it would be either from the front setback variance or from the side setback variance. But the chair makes a motion we approve this variance request based on the following findings of fact. Number one, that a variance from the terms of this ordinance will not be contrary to public interest, where owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provision will in an individual case result in unnecessary hardship. The developer is required to adhere to setbacks for the district. He will need to change the dimensions of the houses he can build there. Then number two, the spirit of the ordinance will be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done. The variance requests are granted. The developer will be able to construct houses of the same size as those that are already existing in the neighborhood. Number three, that there are extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. As we have discussed at great length here, this lot is very unique in that it's a corner and oddly shaped lot, making it more difficult to meet the setbacks required. Number four, that these conditions do not generally apply to other properties in the vicinity. Most lots are rectangular in shape and can easily accommodate the required setbacks. Number five, that because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular properties would effectively prohibit an unreasonably restricted utilization of the property. Requiring the new construction to meet the setbacks would not prohibit the development of the building, but it would require substantial changes to the home, making it not fitting with existing housing. And number six, that this authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of this variance. Because of the existing houses meet setbacks, locating the proposed houses as requested distances will place them closer to the property lines than adjacent houses. By making this variance request, it brings this home in accordance with other houses that are existing in the neighborhood. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Seaman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. The variance request is approved. There are no other items on this evening's agenda. Are there any updates from city staff? Oh, yes, sir.
No updates at this time.
Okay, thank you. The next meeting is scheduled to be May 25th. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Also move.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys very much.